Hi, Shelly here. This week's project is a 16 by 20 inch hardboard canvas. I got the idea from seeing this palette somewhere and I really thought it was cool together, so I wanted to try it. I went through my gel prints and picked out a bunch of papers that I thought might go well together. Then I went through my coffee dyed papers, and what I wanted to do is take a bunch of these little papers and put them together. I'd seen these clusters somewhere that somebody had done on Pinterest, and I thought, ooh, that's a cool idea, and it would be a lot of fun. So I'm just going through, picking a bunch of little papers that I've got in my envelope here and gonna slap them together. I'm not thinking too much about it, just kind of having fun and going whichever the way the mood strikes me. Once I've got a game plan, I will come in with my matte medium and put them together. Again, not thinking too much about it, just kind of slapping stuff down where I think it looks good. I want this to be really free and natural looking, if possible. Once I got these four finished, I decided I've got everything out and I've got the time. This is so much fun. And I'm just going to keep going and make a couple more. So that's what I do. Since I've got some of those colors, like the oranges and the blues, and I thought it might be kind of fun to use some of the grungy, rusty things that I've made in the past. So I pulled those out and think that maybe I'm going to add a little bit more to those, possibly use something in there. And I want to try the rust paste and on some papers to see what that does for me. Now I'm just using a little water and paint to see what I can come up with on these tags or these pieces of paper. And now I get out my rust paste that I made a month or two ago and just kind of dab that on in a few spots. And then I come back in with some more paint on top of that here and there. Using my blue deli papers here, I want to put just a little bit of blue paint here and there on these clusters, I think. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't want to go crazy with it, but just add a little bit of interest. I set those aside to dry and start in cutting my paper strips for my collage background of my canvas. I decided to do them all the same size, so I've picked a spot a little bit bigger than an inch. I'm not sure exactly what I chose. I just picked a line on my slicer here, picking out a few of the papers that I want to use for each of the colors, and then just going through and cutting the strips all the same width. With my strips all cut, now I'm going to go and do my background design. And as soon as I start in, I realize that I don't like the coffee dyed papers for this. I want more of a white background. So it's now I gotta go in and start cutting up some white pieces of paper, which means I'm gonna have to do something different with my clusters as well. But that's okay, it's part of the process. So I'm going in with my white collage papers and cutting a bunch of those, and then I will go back to designing my background. I decided that the best way to get this back on as best as I can is to collect them in rows and keep them separate so that I can apply them in the same way, and it worked out great. I'm trying to apply my rows straight, but not all my cuts are perfect, and they're just not going to be straight, and I'm okay with that. I want it to be pretty good. Now it's time to get those white collage paper pieces out and start making some new clusters with the white. Again, I wasn't frustrated over this because I just so enjoy this process. It was also fun because I have different collage papers in the white than I have. A lot of them, some of them are the same, but many of them are different in the white from my coffee dyed paper. So it was fun to get to, I just enjoy this process. If you like collaging, I think that you're going to love this process. I do not have the time that I had when I was doing the coffee dyed clusters, so I am only going to make 4 this time. My canvas is dry, so I'm cleaning up my edges with my X-Acto knife, and then I pull out all of my little goodies to see what I've got and what I think I might want to use for my focal point. Just playing around here, trying out some different things. That made me think of the whole 6-7 phenomena that was going on over the last year. So for those of you who have children or grandchildren, and that's what that was about. But anyway, I'm just going through and trying to see what looks good to me and what I might like, and this is just the process I go through, trying to figure stuff out. I start off putting a little blue on my 6/7s, and then I go around my edges with a little bit of dark gray just to finish those off. I'm not really sure what I want to do yet, but I'm thinking this is a start. I'm thinking I might want to use this dragonfly, and I had made this years ago out of, it's just cardstock that I cut out with my Scan and Cut, and then I ran it through an embossing folder through my texture boutique, I think, boutique, and then I painted it black, and then I highlighted it with some silver metallic. So, but it's a little flimsy, so I'm going to give him another coat of matte medium all over. I've already got one on there, so he's a little stiffer, but there's some real thin, where the wings are held on by a thin bit of paper, and I want to make sure that they hold. So I just want to put another good coat of matte medium on to make sure I'm giving him the best chance possible. My clusters are not exactly, I need something else. So I'm going back in with a darker edge on my clusters to begin with. So I'm just going in with some more of that dark gray paint and kind of smushing it with my fingers, grunging them up a little bit. I also found these two vines that I had made a long time ago. They're also cut with my Scan and Cut out of cardstock, painted, and then coated with matte medium. So I'm just adding a little bit of dark gray just to kind of grunge them up just a little bit. And I think I'm going to use those too. I feel like my clusters need something else, so I decide to go in and add a few of my other colors. As I'm playing around trying to figure out what I'm going to do, I pull out a couple of those washers that I did a few canvases back, and I've decided that using 3 of the same size would be kind of cool, and I just happen to have 3 of that size. So now I'm going to go in and just add a little bit more of the orange and blue to kind of tie it in just a little bit better with what I've got going on already. I pull out some of my Lean's tacky glue and a brush, and I'm just going to kind of put a little bit on all of the big places that I can without making too big of a mess, and put it on my canvas. I would much prefer to use the beacon glue because I just love the fast grab. It's very great to work with, but it's very thick and I can't brush it on, and I couldn't get it to come out small enough. So anyways, I just decided the Aleene's is going to have to do for this time. The Aleene's is a good glue, but I just have to wait a little bit longer for it to dry, and if I have places that are sticking up, I've got to weight them down with something for a bit. The washers are quite a bit heavier than my paper embellishments, so I decided to use some Gorilla Glue to put them down. Well, that's my page, giving you a close-up here of my collage clusters and my other little embellishments. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll try making some collage clusters and going through your stash and getting some of those things out that maybe you have on hand that you haven't used. And I hope you'll join me in my next video. Bye for now.